I think Steve's Doneski. He's not going to go any higher in score.
Yeah!
Yeah!
You the man!
Get it! It's like a dark horse. Man,
Well.
Steve's like out of nowhere, like a phoenix from the ashes.
Hey everyone, so we're doing a stream recap of the 8+ hour long stream of Jay versus GN. So it was an installment in the RIPGN RIPJAY series, and we were working on liquid nitrogen cooling the brand new RTX 3090 KINGPIN cards, which is this one here. So this is the highest that Jay or I have taken a 3090 in terms of clocks and score, voltage. Everything was unlocked for these. It was a good battle. But since it's over 8 hours long, we're gonna try and give you a high points recap. Before that, this video is brought to you by Linode. Linode is a Linux server provider that GN has used for years now for its own servers. Alongside dedicated hosting, Linode also makes it easy to cut out third-party VPN servers and to build your own VPN that you fully control, doable through a few guided clicks in its interface. Linode has hundreds of guides for even more advanced server builds, and with Linode, you can roll out your own services like Plex and Nextcloud for your own media and file sharing services. GamersNexus viewers get a $100 credit, good for 60 days on new Linode accounts. Visit linode.com/GamersNexus or click the link in the description below. So first of all, the stream was a charity stream for EVGA. It was really complex from a streaming setup standpoint. We're gonna go over some interesting stuff outside of overclocking, like the sort of under the table streaming systems we had, because we were outputting display of the test bench to EVGA's HQ. Then we were outputting our camera feed to EVGA so that they could pipe that into their stream. And then we were streaming at the same time to our audience. And Jay was on site at EVGA HQ where they had even more cameras set up. So it was one of the most complex streams I've ever taken part in. It's up there with Linus's PC troubleshooting challenge. So we'll go over all that stuff. And one special note of thanks, I think, from everybody in the stream, Jay included. I'll speak on his behalf gladly, and all the viewers who are in the stream. So KINGPIN, because he's in Taiwan and he's got about a 12 or so hour offset from our time zone, he stayed up for 30 hours at the end of the stream. He had to work a full work day, and then he had to do the stream. So I shout out, we kept telling him, hey man, if you need to go, you can go. But he really wanted to stick through it and see the cards. He was excited to see the overclocking battle. So thanks to Vince as well for sticking around for all of that. The charities, EVGA does this every year where they do a stream towards the end of the year. Specifically, they like to work with St. Jude Children's Hospital. So we did some contributions there. We matched up to $1,000 from our audience. So thank you to everyone who met that goal during their stream. And then they had a few other setups. So they had winner takes home donation for their charity of choice. And then second place also got a donation to theirs. So Jay's was Husky Haven. And we decided to do a cats versus dogs thing. So Jay chose Husky Haven, I chose Cat Angels, and then we battled for it from there. This will have spoilers in it. I will very shortly be telling you the results. So if you want to watch 8.5 hours to find out for yourself, then I guess pause this and I'll see you in 9 hours from now. But anyway, so the cards were really interesting to work with. I learned a lot. Vince KINGPIN, who is one of the world's leading overclockers for sure, in graphics especially, Vince really taught us a lot. I've learned once again to not really question his judgment. Sometimes you want to, but normally, even if it doesn't make sense, he understands what he's talking about. So just kind of blindly following him with overclocking is generally a safe thing to do. So the biggest thing that he sort of corrected me on in this one was the mount quality, where I originally had a foam wrapped around. Oh yeah, we shot stuff over here too. It was, the stream took the entire studio because we took apart the video card over here, suited it up, and then brought it back over here and did multiple mounts, remounts. Anyway, I had this on the LN2 pot. I put it on there because I noticed Joe from Bearded Hardware uses this stuff. I think it's called Armaflex, but I'm not sure, and I should probably look up the name. But it's just a big foam, and it goes on the LN2 pot. But problem was, I had it cut in such a way that it was pushing against this top part of the card where the card comes up really high down here. So because it was pushing against this part, the mount wasn't that good up towards this top half. And so Vince caught that. I was pretty sure it was fine, and then later when I took it apart and remounted it, it went way better when I got rid of this foam. So Vince definitely right on that. Some interesting stuff as well. So there's a classified tool is the name of it. It's KINGPIN utility. That's what this is. We'll have to show a shot from the stream of it open, but it's got a couple voltages you can control. So there's NV VDD, there's a FB-DD or VDD. There's actually, they're printed on the card here. MSVDD, PAX, and then and then you can control the frequency settings in the classified tool for the VRM. So you can change the VRM switching frequency. So Vince's advice was to push it to max, which is 1,000 kilohertz. And when I was talking to Billjoy about that previously on the motherboard side of things, my understanding is that it helps with stabilizing the V-core without needing more V-core. So that's my very rudimentary understanding of switching frequency for VRMs and why it helps to have a higher setting, as long as it's stable anyway. So a couple other cool things though is for those voltages to read what they are on the cards, you can plug in a probit header, which just makes it really easy to hook straight up to a digital multimeter. So now you've got all these things that a DMM can just socket straight into. I'm gonna throw some fans on the floor. Okay. Those fans have been through a lot today. I should treat them better. So the way it hooks up is you basically say like, okay, I want to know for sure what my NVV DD is. That's basically your V-core for the GPU. And then you say, I need a ground for that. So you probe those two, and they just stay in there really nicely. You don't have to like try and probe the back of a tiny capacitor on both sides. And then you get a readout. Obviously 0 right now, it's not doing anything. But that was kind of useful in the stream just to get an idea of where the thing performed before we disassembled it when we were running it on air still. So a lot of cool features on the card. But the real goal of it, though, was overclocking. And the end scores were, for us, this is where the spoilers come in. My final score was 17,180. I'm going to walk you through some of the... It was a close match. Like, Jay and I went back and forth constantly. I think my last score was... there was a little bit of luck at play with that mount. So that was my final score. Jay's final score was 17,052. And... Jay was the first one over 17,000 points. Full credit to him there. He was the first of us past 17K. Joe passed a little while ago. I think Vince might have been, aka KINGPIN, might have been the first person past 17K. I don't know for sure if Joe was second or not, but either way, Jay got there before I did. He got up to 17,052, and then I ended up at 17,180 eventually, and we those were the final scores. So as for what this looks like in terms of frequency and settings, this is kind of interesting from a sort of like a GPU behavior standpoint. So this card is fully unlocked. It was running at about 650 watts or so when I was running it. I think it peaked at 700 sometimes, but that is a lot of power. That's so much power that when you, so first of all, GPU load's not gonna show for temperature here because we're below 0. But when you first start the workload, the frequency will end up, let's see, for my settings, it was at 2495, did 2490 for a while, 2525 there in the middle, 2520, and eventually it comes back down to 2490, 2475. So I had K-Boost on to try and lock the frequency, but still fluctuates a little bit. Anyway, the big behavior to take away here that we can't see because GPU is not plotted for temperature, unfortunately, is that it's really hard to keep the GPU cold at 700 or 650 watts. Where if you start the benchmark, as in click the start button, and it's not already at minus 130 degrees when you click this button, then you're not really going to be able to get it down there. Because as soon as that workload starts, you're fighting where at best you kind of hold it steady. As the pot glazes over and you get into more of a groove with it, it's easier to fight the workload and get the temperature lower. But it's extremely hard to get the card at the temperatures you want just because of the amount of power involved. So those are the frequencies. For memory offset, I think I was running 1620 or 1640 for the final offset on mem. And for core, it was, I don't know, 435, something like that. So end result was in the 2500 range for the frequency. Tried really hard to get it to push higher, but it was just not going to do it tonight. So as far as the score leapfrogging we did, initially worked with it on air a little bit. I was more playing around with the Probit header, and then we took it to LN2. Jay definitely was looking pretty strong at the beginning where, man, I was having the hardest time with it. I was getting frustrated with it because I wasn't really sure what the problem was. And also, from a stream setup side of things, I had EVGA talking in my ear, like 5 people talking to me, while I was trying to talk to our own viewers separately. And later we bridged everyone into the same call, so then our viewers could hear EVGA, so I didn't have to keep providing context of what was going on. Got a lot easier and a lot less stress after that was solved, because then I knew that our stream was taking care of everyone, could see the whole event. So Jay was well ahead, and I was just not able to really get good scores out of it at all. Eventually, we both broke the cards down, remounted it, got a really good remount where, so basically dried the whole card off with a hot box, piece of cardboard, heat gun, and then we took it to a hand dryer that we have. It's just like, it's basically an air compressor. I just don't have a good air compressor that's quiet. Took it to the hand dryer, blew it off, and end result was Jay put his card back in right before mine. He posted a score of 17,052. My previous high score was 16,880. That's a massive gap, and I was looking at it like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do that one. And so we got the card back in. It did 16,990, and then I was feeling pretty good about it. It did, I think it was like 17,042 or something like that, or 4448, 17,048. It's right behind Jay's. Did another one, it was like 17,086 or something, and then eventually we got up to 17,180, and at that point, Jay was stuck on 17,052. So the thing he and I both got stuck on was the same. He just got stuck at a lower score than I ultimately did. And it's that, from what Vince was describing to us, apparently the way NVIDIA works now, they have enough screwy stuff in the drivers where Vince calls it getting drivered, as in a verb, to get drivered by NVIDIA, where I think what he was saying is that because we're adjusting voltages and there's screwy stuff in the drivers where NVIDIA is trying to detect this stuff and block certain changes and modifications to keep the card within spec, at some point it seems like it picks up on something or detects something, and you start getting those clock drops where you'll type in an offset that puts you at 2500 megahertz, but then you check the frequency logs after everything's done, and it was at like 2200, 2300, clearly not the right frequency, and that's what Vince calls getting drivered. So in other words, it's sort of like the NVIDIA protection mechanisms taking back control and going, nope, not supposed to do that, and bringing it back down. So that's what happened to both of us. Jay is the one who unfortunately got stuck at a lower score for that. And that kind of recaps the scoring part of the stream and the overclocking. So for the rest of it, we'll get a camera shot down here of just this setup. Okay, so first of all, we were using these simple capture devices. All of our other ones were broken, but we had this XR1 hooked up here, and this was plugged into the main streaming system, which is that one. And that's got a 3070 in it and like a 9900 KS, I think. So I think we're using NV encoder, or we wanted to process the stream. And then this thing hooks up to the camera. So longer HDMI cable, that's what allows Andrew, who dealt with the 8-hour-long stream with active camera control the whole time. We have that hooked up to the camera, so all those good shots like down into LN2 pot and moving shots of the setup, that's possible because of this setup where we're fairly tether free. And that's just USB to the system. Then we have this thing, which is a Razer Ripsaw that sucks. It used to be really good. Unfortunately, Razer has decided that it's not supporting the device properly with Windows updates anymore, so we didn't use that, it's broken. This is another XR1, and this one is hooked up to, this is honestly like more interesting to me than in some ways than the overclocking, because the setup, the fact that it worked is amazing. So this was hooked up to that, to this, wait, I think it was, the video card came out of here and went into here. So that was the KP card path, and then it came out of here and it went to the monitor, so it was a pass-through. And then the USB cable took it to this lunchbox system back here that we can get another shot of if we need to. And that goes into something else. I'm not sure what's happening anymore. I don't really, there's an Elgato 4K 60 in here somehow too. I don't remember the exact involvement of that device. Patrick set up part of that system. So anyway, the end result is we had a lot of different capture devices, and it's phenomenal that this thing worked at all. So then, the reason we needed all that complexity is because EVGA very specifically wanted capture of our bench system. And when they told me that, I was like, nope, I'm not gonna worsen my scoring results by screwing with that. So they sort of told us, well, the way we can do it is set it as a pass-through, send it to another computer, and then hook that up to OBS Ninja and send a screen share of OBS, but not capture with OBS, on the secondary system, give them that URL, and then they can plug it in, and they get the capture of this screen from the benchmarking that they can present to their audience. So that's why we needed that. And then on our end, we were capturing and uploading our own feed of just the camera, like normally. And then we were also forwarding that to EVGA. So there was a lot going on. There was a lot of data being used. And fortunately, the internet did not fail us. Back here, we had another system hooked up. So this, at the beginning, when it was necessary, before I looped their audio into the call, this was just for showing the EVGA stream in the background to give people some context what was happening. So I mean, you can just see how it was kind of a lot of computers involved, and we threw it all together in about a day. But a lot of fun, though. Really liked working on it. The card was pretty easy to take apart, has some interesting features. Very expensive. You don't need to be a liquid nitrogen overclocker to be into these. We reviewed the last generation one and sort of explained that there is some value to being a non-Allen 2 overclocker, but at the price you probably should be, or you should be very interested in extreme overclocking. Even though it does pretty well stock, it's so much more money that it's hard to justify, obviously, for stock use. But in a world where video cards don't exist anymore, then I guess nothing I said really matters because they're not in stock anyway. Actually, this one might be in stock because it's so expensive. But the scoring went down pretty quickly. It was condensed ultimately. Those final scores from Jay and from us, it was condensed down into about a 5-minute span in their stream. And we really enjoyed it. So thank you everyone for watching. And thanks to EVGA, of course, for hosting it. So they did, I think they raised about $2,000 something for St. Jude. Then we chipped in the 1,000. We have a 10% of GN store sales for November 20th, which I guess when this video goes up will be over. But 10% of the GN store sales for the day of the stream we're doing towards that charity as well. And then EVGA contributed their prizes to Cat Angels and to Husky Haven. So that's the stream recap. It's really interesting. It was a fun event. We beat the hell out of this hardware, and I look forward to doing some more with it, but definitely learned a lot, especially learning about like MSVDD as a new rail for NVIDIA, and it has very specific behaviors where it wants like 1.2 volts ideally for this card, at least with the settings we were running. So a lot of new stuff to learn, figure out, and put into other videos. And at this point, I think we're going to switch back to the normal content. So thank you for watching. Check back for more. You can go to store.gamersnexus.net, as always, to help us out directly, or patreon.com/gamersnexus. Huge thanks to Jay for participating. And Jay, as always, one of the most fun competitors to work with in the space. So we appreciate him sticking around for as long as that stream was and making it such a fun time. So thank you, Jay, and we'll see you all next time.